Sticking with recruiting, Jamie, let's go ahead and talk about the 2021 class. I had a specific question from Johnny Gardner regarding Jackie Johnson Jr. Tell us what you can about him.
Yeah, Jackie Johnson, he's a scoring kind of lead guard. 5'10", 5'11", a compact frame, has range out to 30 feet, can really shoot and score the ball. He has a mindset to really shoot and score the ball. He's had a 50-point game this year, a lot of 30-point games and all that type of stuff as well. Just a bulldog type of mentality, and a guy who's not afraid of the moment, wants the ball, and he can really shoot. We talked about it earlier. We've talked about it throughout this time that shooting might be an upgrade necessary for the team, and Jackie Johnson is somebody who can shoot the ball and has the willingness and the fortitude to shoot the ball.
Before we move on and talk about the future classes, specifically the 2024 class, because I have a question from Johnny Gardner as well about a young man out of Southern Nash, Jordan Vick. But before we get to that, just talk about any other uncommitted players in the 2021 class, if you can shed some light there.
Well, let me pull up and see who some other guys are that they're looking at. Let's see here. So you're looking through. We got BJ Freeman's on the list here. Jalen McDonald. I don't think either of them will be coming to East Carolina. Jalen Blake's just got an offer from Duke, so he might have moved out a little bit. I'm not familiar with Luke Murphy there, and Kareem Ewell. Let's see. Not familiar with Kareem Ewell either. Looks like East Carolina is his only offer, 6'7", small forward out of the Patrick School in New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, it looks like their roster is getting pretty full. I mean, they have 6 new 2021s coming in, is it? And then 1 or 2 from the portal.
Right, Winston Tabbs. So it's a situation like you're saying. You're probably looking at because we actually had 12 scholarship guys because Fifi Derek Kwanzaa had left the program.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're looking at maybe 1 or 2 more, depending on, and then you could potentially have someone else enter the portal.
Yeah, because we're looking at what do we have? Noah Farrakhan, Charles Coleman, Jaden Gardner. Those are the 3, and Harold Baruti, I guess, are in the portal.
Batumba Baruti. Batumba Baruti, Charles Coleman, Noah Farrakhan. You had also Miles James. There's 6 in the portal on CJ, Charles Coleman.
Yep.
And Jaden Gardner. You had those 6 in the portal, and you had some others that you were kind of wondering, like a guy like Tyree Pig Jackson. May he enter the portal coming off an injury? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, no doubt. So I mean, it looks like they had 12 on the roster. They lose 6, and they're bringing in 7. So things look like they're kind of fluid right now. But obviously, as you just said, we're in the time of the portal. So, and the portal, you don't have to go through the compliance. You don't have to go through that. You just kind of enter your name in the portal on your own. You don't have to have a meeting with your coach and everything beforehand. So, very fluid times right now, but it looks like they're possibly trying to hope to hold steady.
Let's move on and talk about Jordan Vick and tell us what you can about the Southern Nash freshman.
Yeah, so he started the year off at the Greenfield School, played about half the season there through December-ish, and then transferred to Southern Nash when the start of the public school season started in January. He's a 5'10", just dynamo guard. His game is very similar to a guy who came through North Carolina a couple years ago named Jalen Cone, went to Virginia Tech, and then just transferred to Northern Arizona. Just 5'10", hyper athletic, dunking with 2 hands on the break and stuff as a freshman. Can really shoot the ball, really score the ball, has great footwork, able to get to his spots, and just knows how to do what he needs to do. His quickness and his footwork and his skill allow him to be 5'10", and still score the ball at a high clip. I just watched him 2 weeks ago at an AAU tournament, and he played up a age level. He's an original 15U player. He played up to 16U level and won the MVP of that age bracket and won the championship game. So very bright future. I believe Wake Forest, Vanderbilt are his 2 offers he currently has. He's tracking as one of the top players in that class. It'll be interesting again to see how much he grows, if he gets any taller, how he fills out and does all that. But as things stand right now, He is a very, very nice prospect, fun to watch too. If you get a chance to swing by Southern Nash, any high school basketball fans out there, it might be worth doing so next year. He's, like I said, he's out on the brink throwing alley-oops to himself off the bounce and doing all that type of stuff too.
Just over a week ago, Jamie, we had the 2021 college basketball season wrapping up with the Baylor Bears cutting down the nets up in Indianapolis on a dominant performance against Gonzaga, coming off that emotional victory, a 40-foot banker against UCLA. So just overall, not only specifically about Baylor, but what were your thoughts about this year's NCAA tournament? You only had that one cancellation with VCU and Oregon.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, this was such an odd year. No fans and games getting canceled left and right and COVID protocols and, 14 days off and here and there and teams coming out of 3-week breaks and all that. I think only a few teams were able to get all their games in and, play 30 or more games. And, it was just a very odd year, very unconventional. And hopefully we don't have to ever go through that again. But kudos to them for being able to get it off again in the NCAA tournament. Having it all in Indiana and selected sites and the testing that they had to do and only having VCU have to opt out is pretty miraculous with what they had to go and deal with on the Baylor side of things. That was a ridiculously dominating performance. They took it to Houston. They took it to Gonzaga. I think they showed that athleticism and length is a huge factor in the game. I dare to say that Baylor, that Gonzaga was as skilled as Baylor was, because Baylor, they had 4 or 5 guys shoot over 40% from three, and they were really skilled in their ability to create shots and create offense off the bounce individually on the floor. But their defense was suffocating. Their athleticism was glaring. It was kind of one of those moments where you watch the game. I was sitting at home watching it with my wife and my daughter. I think it was like 14-2 at one point, and I looked at him and said, "This game's over," because it's one of those things where you're watching the game and there's just no clear path to Gonzaga to be able to come back. Because not only did players on the floor outside of really Jalen Suggs, who was in foul trouble in the first half, didn't even look like they belonged on the floor. Drew Timme, Corey Kispert, those guys were just outmanned, in watching that game. And there was a ton of confusion on the sideline. You saw Mark Hughes sitting there kind of with his hand over his mouth, like, I don't know what to do here. He even went to zone, and Gonzaga isn't a zone team. They don't do the zone. They try to go to the zone and confuse Baylor for a little bit, but then they put Maceo Teague in the middle of that zone, and he made some jump shots and made some plays and picked it apart. And when Gonzaga scrapped and clawed to get it down to 10, you go to the bathroom and come back, and all of a sudden it's back to 18-19 again. It was just a dominating performance, and clearly that night Baylor was far and away the better team.
The state of North Carolina had 3 teams in the big dance. You had the Tar Heels, who lost in the first round. Very unusual to see a Roy Williams team fall in the first round. And then you also had App State, on what a story they were under Dustin Kearns in his second season after having done a solid job down at Presbyterian. And then no secret what Wes Miller has done with the UNCG Spartans. So what were your thoughts on a couple of those other stories like App State and UNCG?
Well, I think that they've solidified themselves, both Wes and Dustin, as rising stars within the industry. What App State's been able to do, what DK's been able to do to turn that program around since coming from Presbyterian. I believe this is his second year, possibly second year there, and already be a perennial, to win the league and to go to the tournament and do all that is uncanny at App State. Again, that's a tough job to win at and everything. And you got to do a lot of coaching up over there and all that. So he's done a great job. And then Wes Miller's built a culture over there. They're fortunate enough to be one of the schools that don't have a football program, so basketball's it. The basketball program gets what a lot of schools' football programs get, with the fan base and the notoriety within the campus and all that stuff. So, what he's been able to build over there, what the momentum he's been able to do, the players he's been able to get, the way he's been able to recruit, both of them really, but Wes, that is, he's getting players that traditionally are recruited higher than that league that they're in, the Southern Conference. And allowing them opportunities and winning a ton of games and coaching them up and doing all that type of stuff too. So it's been great to see what both programs, both Wes and Dustin, have been able to do at Greensboro and App State, respectively.
Wes Miller, obviously a North Carolina guy, guard for the Tar Heels several years ago. So with that job coming open with Roy Williams stepping down, kind of a two-part question. One, did it surprise you that Roy retired this year? It seemed as though he was getting a little fed up, if you will, with the transfer portal and kind of the current climate of college basketball. And then did it surprise you? What were your thoughts on Hubert Davis being named his successor?
Well, it's one of those things that both – well, I'll start with the first question, the one with Roy stepping down. Yes, it kind of came out of nowhere because there was nothing leading up to it. But then when you step back for a second and thought about it, it wasn't surprising at all. The team had been down a little bit these last couple of years. He'd battled some vertigo stuff and some health issues through these couple of years. He's made it clear in press conferences about spending time with his grandkids and all that type of stuff. So it was kind of one of those things where, they were even having national articles being written about who will Roy Williams' successor be and all that type of stuff. So I think everybody kind of had a feeling that it was coming soon to an end. Just didn't think it would be that day when it happened, on April Fool's Day. So yes and no. Yes, when the announcement was made, it was a surprise, but no, thinking back on it, it makes sense. Hubert Davis hiring. Also, again, it's one of those things as to where he was said to be the guy from the beginning, from right after it happened. UNC's a blue blood job, and they could go out and get anybody out there, but they're also, they preach the family atmosphere. Last time when Dean Smith, the legendary Dean Smith, stepped down, they hired an assistant coach who had tenure on staff, who had never been a head coach before, and Bill Guthridge. And, the success that Bill had and everything before retiring and everything. Obviously, Hubert's not as old as Bill and everything, but he checks all those same boxes. He was a UNC guy, older, never been a head coach before, had the experience and all that type of stuff. So, it just made sense. There's all this smoke around them going national with the hire or doing all that. And, names like Mark Few and names like Billy Donovan and Brad Stevens being thrown around and everything. But the hire of Hubert Davis checked the exact same boxes that the hire of Bill Guthridge did. So again, not really a surprise when you sit down and think about it. How it played out.
Yeah, and as far as Wes Miller is concerned, obviously with Coach Davis, that book's yet to be written, but it'll be very interesting to see how things do unfold in Chapel Hill over the next few or several years, and see if Wes Miller gets an opportunity down the road.
Yeah, Wes is still young. He's got youth on his side, and he's incredibly successful. He's I guess from Greensboro. I know his dad's got a house out there in Greensboro, and he's happy with what he's got going over there. He speaks highly about the program. He loves where he's at, and he's in no rush to leave where he's at. I'm interested to see how he continues to build that program. It wasn't very long ago when we were talking about UNCG being a top 4 program in the state. After beating NC State and everything. So. Wes has that thing going in the right direction, and Wes is going to be fine. Wes is incredibly talented. He's young, charismatic, and he'll be fine.
Couple more things for you, Jamie. I know you're a South Carolina Gamecock. Saw recently that Frank Martin was extended. What are your thoughts on the Gamecocks program?
I really, really hope that the fans can rally around the program. We have South Carolina has a great thing going right now with the women's program. They really wrap their arms around what Don Staley has going and what the women's program has going. Obviously, they're the premier program in the country. They're the cool thing to be right now. The women's program is. So the fans can be nice, and they can show love. I hope that they wrap that same type of love around Frank Martin. He's the guy right now. He's the guy that's at the helm. He's an unbelievable person. The love that he has for his players is undeniable, and the commitment that his players have to him is also undeniable. Also, so he he's a great X's and O's coach as well, and knows what he's doing there and everything. So he's there. He's at the forefront of the organization. So hopefully the fans can wrap their arms around it and provide the best possible route for success for the program, because it always makes things easier when the fans are showing up and cheering and loud. They do it for the football stadium. The University of South Carolina these last couple of years hasn't been great in football, and even this past year with COVID and whatnot, and year before that, and even Spurrier's last couple of years, still 70, 80,000 people showed up every single game, loud and all that type of stuff too. So hopefully, the fans have a right to complain and grumble. They have a right to, say their opinions about things as well. But hopefully the support will be there. And I feel that way, for any program. Frank Martin's a friend of mine. I talk to him regularly, and all that type of stuff too. So, he's, like I said, he loves South Carolina. He loves, the university. He loves the area. And he fought to keep his job because he wants to be there. Hopefully the fans will be able to support that. Because also too, when fans aren't supportive too, people see that. Recruits see that. If you're sitting there saying what a crappy job it is, or what a bad job they're doing, the recruits see that too. And why would you want to walk into a situation where everybody who's supposed to be a fan is not there, not doing it? So it just makes no sense to grumble. It makes no sense to me, both being on the inside of the situation, the recruiting side, and also as a fan of University of South Carolina football. It makes no sense to me as to why somebody would complain and do all that stuff about about a coach or about a thing. So
absolutely. Excuse me. Kind of piggybacking off what you're saying there, regarding negativity surrounding a program, or maybe changes within a program. When Jaden Gardner announced his decision, East Carolina was hot in pursuit of local product Josh Carlton of UConn. So you certainly wonder, had Jaden remained a Pirate, I think Josh Carlton quite possibly would have been wearing the purple and gold also.
Yeah, man. How about the bigs that South Central's put out? They got Josh Carlton, followed up by Dayron Sharp, and Carlton's brother was a good player there too. But yeah, no, there's a whole lot of what ifs that could be played out and all that. But Dooley's got a great class coming in. As you said, you have an ACC transfer and six recruits that they beat out some big name people for. So and he's also staying around. He chose to not leave and go to familiar territory with Kansas. He chose to stay and be the head man for East Carolina, and that in itself should have the Pirate fans happy that they have somebody who wants to be there, who wants to be great at East Carolina. And that right there gets me fired up as somebody who follows along.
As someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes basketball, covers it for a living, on the recruiting scene particularly, just talk about what are your thoughts on the transfer portal? We've referenced it so much during this show. Talk about the portal in general, and then also the one and done. Do you think it should be more like the baseball rule, where if a guy elects to go to college, he's there for 3 years?
No. I think the NCAA is heading in the right direction with it. I think with the transfer portal, if you yourself wanted to leave the sports objective and go to a rival company or do something else, you're free and able to do that, as well. And I think that them putting the one-time transfer on it, that you can't just jump to places. Well, you hope not to. I know that there's couple guys in the portal now that'll be on their fourth school if it goes through, or all that type of stuff too. But the hope is that you can't just jump with the one-time rule, and I think that's how coaches are recruiting as well, getting somebody who just goes one time so that you kind of got them. They can't go 2 or 3 times. So the transfer portal as a whole, I think it's a big. I know we were talking about this. I don't remember if we were offline or online earlier, but you look through. I'm obviously manning the portal here for Rivals.com, and everybody that comes through, I click on it and I look at their stats and look at all that, and over 50% of the guys that are in the portal, and I don't know that stat to be true. I haven't fact checked it or anything like that. So off the eye test of the 1,400 that are in there, I would suggest that possibly over half of them are bit contributors to the teams that they're currently on, averaging less than 12 minutes a game, averaging less than 3 points a game, and probably in the bottom 8 to 13 people in the rotations. So necessarily them leaving, a lot of them, it was probably a mutual decision in the fact that, obviously no coaches who recruit players want to see them leave, but, you go in, you have the conversation, hey, Bubba, we don't see you, or hey, Jamie Shaw, we don't see you really getting into the lineup this year. We have these other guys that are in front of you, and this is kind of where things are starting. And then the guy's like, well, I want to leave and see what else I can get, and does that. So I think there will be a ton of people also in the portal, that on the D1 portal, because obviously there's a D1, D2 portal, D3 portal, all that stuff too. I think there will be a lot of people, maybe even half, up to 40% of them, who don't go Division I, guys that transfer from a Division I school thinking the grass is greener and whatnot, and then they go through the process and they find that there's not a spot for them in the Division I basketball. The number is staggering. I think it's approaching. Let me pull it up right here. The number right now is there are 1,409 entries into the Division I transfer portal as of the beginning of this interview that we had 21 minutes ago. So of those, that number is staggering for sure. But if you kind of dissect it and look more intentionally at it, it's not just people jumping out and all that. There's a lot of different scenarios for why people are in there. So, all that being said, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. If you're in a situation where you're not going to be able to start or be a significant part of the rotation, I would think that a lot of people would want to leave, in that scenario. And now that they're able to.
Absolutely. Well, Jamie, as always, we really appreciate your time. You're very generous this afternoon. Appreciate your insight. But before we let you run, go ahead and plug your YouTube channel and plug all your social media.
Yeah, absolutely. My YouTube channel, Absolute Basketball Experience with Jamie Shaw. It's on YouTube. Subscribe to it and all that stuff. From last summer, I have a ton of interviews that are on it. This past high school season, I've been doing a lot of mixtapes and all that type of stuff too. I'm just trying to figure out which direction I want to go, whether it be the live shows aspect or interviews and Zooms or, mixtapes as well too. So, but yeah, hop on it. There's a lot of great content on there, a lot of interviews with college coaches, a lot of interviews with players, NBA guys, for the draft, pre-draft from last year, and then a lot of mixtapes of players throughout the country. The Absolute Basketball Podcast, you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast stuff from. That's a high school basketball podcast. Season 1 of that, I did 50 shows in like 70 days. Most of those were college coach interviews. Joe Dooley was one of them. I got Kevin Keats on there, head coaches at every level, going up from D2 all the way up to the high major level and all that type of stuff too. So season 2 is going to be a whole lot more of just a once a week show of hot topics that happened the previous week along the high school sports and the transfer portal and all that type of stuff too. So the recruiting scene. So make sure you check that out. Absolute Basketball Experience with Jamie Shaw. On Twitter, I am at Jamie Shaw 5, and on Instagram at Jamie_Shaw 5. Make sure you go follow along both of those as well.
Absolutely. We'll certainly do that. Encourage others to do that, Jamie. We appreciate everyone tuning in, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or one of our audio-only platforms. For Jamie Shaw, I'm Bubba Rosenbaum, and you've been watching and listening to the Sports Objective Podcast. Have a great one, everyone.
Thank you, Bubba.